What's going on, guys? My name's EFK, right on the channel, and today I want to talk about Atari, the Atari VCS, and whether or not we will see another Atari VCS, or if the last Atari VCS, maybe the last one we'll ever see. Now, for those who don't know, Atari obviously recently, at the time of me recording this, made a video, not a video, but like they made an announcement with My Arcade for stuff like the Atari Pocket Player and the Atari Game Station, and obviously Atari's recently ended manufacturing contracts for the original manufacturer of the Atari VCS. So I wanted to go through and give my thoughts whether or not we could potentially see another Atari VCS being made in the future, or if it may be all it. Now, for those who don't know, right, the Atari VCS was basically a PC in a console shell. Atari's done this multiple times in the past, in the history of hardware, but that was basically it. And people said that the Atari VCS was outdated when it came out. Obviously, the hardware wasn't up to snuff. It wasn't the most powerful. People need to understand that the Atari VCS is obviously meant to be sort of its own little thing. It wasn't supposed to be, Xbox, PlayStation rival sort of console. It was never going to have the game library. It was never going to have the financing to do that. So why do I think that we could? Why do I want to talk about the idea of there being another one? Well, those who don't know, Atari does own quite a large game library. They've obviously they've put out like 10 different game consoles during its lifespan. Plus it's making games for new consoles now. It feels like Atari's obviously got the game library that could entice someone over to the Atari VCS, at least a Model 2, at least a Model 2 version of the system. But the problem I see for Atari with this idea would be the fact that, well, Atari doesn't really have that much financing. Atari's not the biggest company in the world, not the richest company in the world. They're not a major player in gaming anymore. They haven't been a major player in gaming since the 90s, in my opinion. Now personally, I do think that if Atari did make an Atari VCS 2, they'd have to do two things to make sure it was really worthwhile. Obviously, definitely powerful but affordable, like the Xbox Series S, and it'd also need to have a huge game library. And I'm talking like hundreds of games, thousands of games within its first year. Now, would that be possible? Yeah, it would be possible if Atari obviously released every single game in its catalog separately. But with Atari selling off some pretty notable game franchises over the years, like Driver and Alone in the Dark, it does seem very unlikely that this would happen. Now, if Atari did decide to come back and they could secure financing for an Atari VCS 2, they would also need to win back consumers, because obviously the Atari VCS basically had the manufacturing shut down. Now, people have speculated the reason being because for every 100 VCSs Atari apparently made, they only sold 8, but I've seen no evidence of that. But to me, I kind of feel like if Atari wants to make a comeback in the console market, they need to have a massive game lineup, and I'm talking hundreds of games. They've got to have exclusive games, which they didn't have with the VCS. And if Atari really wants to compete with Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, they've got to obviously make sure they've got the power. Because currently, the Atari VCS was not the most powerful console on the market. It was less powerful than the Xbox and the PlayStations, but I think it was more powerful than the Switch, from what I know. So there's that. Now, do I personally think Atari's going to make another VCS? No, I personally don't think Atari's going to make another VCS, at least not for a very long time, if ever. The reason being because obviously they got the Atari Game Station, now they got Atari Flashback, they got the other stuff, that My Arcade's making with the Atari license and the Atari brand, and obviously the game library Atari has just, in my opinion, isn't going to sell majorly a console. It's not going to make people. It's not going to make people rush out and go, "Oh yeah, I need to buy a £400 console to play Atari games," because obviously Atari doesn't have they've got a big library, but it's not big enough, in my opinion, for them to really be able to compete head to head with Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. And the fact that Atari obviously doesn't really have many modern games either, and didn't have the third party support for the Atari VCS, it kind of says it all to me that the Atari VCS wasn't going to become a major success. Now, would I like to see an Atari VCS 2? I don't know. I'd prefer if Atari was able to roll out the original VCS to my country, because obviously, those who don't know, I'm British. I live in the UK, and the Atari VCS never launched over here. At least not the digital only console. Obviously, I know the original Atari 2600 did, but yeah. Personally, if Atari does have this sudden surplus amount of stock in their warehouses of the Atari VCS, I'd personally like them to start selling it in Europe and help trying to get European people into it, because I think that could help bring some more revenue into Atari and make them be able to finance more games for the Atari VCS, and also it would help them be able to really show that they're not a dead name, they're not a dead weight, and they can come back and they've got fighting power still. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Do you want to see an Atari VCS 2? You know, if you're new, make sure you subscribe, like, share. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. And yeah, I've been Eve Kade. I'm signing out. Peace.